Welcome everyone to today's session of What Am I Reading? Today I have some offbeat topics. Let's see the first article that we are going to read today. The first article that we are reading is India's EV dream is going the way of Swachh Bharat toilet. So basically he's saying that the EV dream is failing, and this article is written on Twitter on X by Binu Alex. I was intrigued by its headline. So let's see. I want to know the current state of EV Dream and why is it failing. A man stopped me the other day while I was on my morning walk. He was in an electric car, a Mahindra, very swanky. It looked like a Tesla. Maybe they have some design understanding or the familiar jugaad, copy paste, don't know. But some EV are looking like they were made for Mars and Jupiter, not Earth. He wanted to know if there was a charging station nearby. I paused. I thought the car dash could show the nearest one. Looked, his screen is off. His car had that look about it, the look of a phone at 4%. I opened Google Maps. He said he had already tried that. Several stations on the map were not working, out of order, dead. I looked up anyway, and right there, directly opposite where we were standing, was a charging station. A singular KSEB1. I don't know what KSEB means. An e-rickshaw was plugged in and charging quite happily. It was not on any map. It simply existed, unbothered by internet. He thanked me. I had done nothing really. I had just been standing there. After many days, this morning I got recollected about it after reading this morning context story. So this is the article he would have read and he's sharing with us and I am sharing with you. So morning context is paid. I don't have access to it. I am a petrol person, I should mention. Unapologetic so. No ethanol if I can help it. My cars are old and their constitution are fragile. Their kidneys and livers are already down with ethanol cirrhosis. A transplant is what I'll be looking at. I am not buying anything new. I intend to finish my driving life with the cars I have. No new carbon footprint from this corner. But EV is what the government has bet on. A big bet, loudly announced. I am far from being convinced. I've seen this kind of betting before. The bet on toilets once, you will remember. Funds were released, targets were set, Bollywood film was even made, Toiletic Prem Katha. Toilets were built, gleaming, photogenic, completely without septic tanks. So the waste went where it always went, and the toilet became a storage room. Dal, rice, firewood, a spare tire, whatever needed a roof. The Swachh Bharat mission produced excellent press releases, newspaper ads. The EV mission is producing excellent charging stations, some of them even work. Across highways and parking lots, the stations have appeared with great enthusiasm. The government has announced targets, the automakers have announced targets, everyone with targets. And then, if you actually try to charge your car on a long drive, you find the handwritten note out of order, no note at all. Just a silent, dead unit standing in the sun, just like the guy who stood in front of me. The problem is not ambition. India has ambition in spectacular quantities. The problem is what comes after ambition. The maintenance contract, the technician who knows what he's doing, the helpline that rings and is answered, the accountability of a station that has been broken for 3 months. None of that fits in a press release, so it is quietly skipped. A person with a home charger and a parking spot manages fine, but that was not the promise. Promise was for the cab driver, the delivery man, a family buying their first car. For them, public station is not optional, it's the whole arrangement. And the whole arrangement is currently storing dal. These are not impossible problems. Other countries have sorted them. It just requires less glamorous work, the wrench rather than the ribbon. Until someone in authority is asked in public why nearly half the commissioned stations are not working, the incentive will remain to build more stations rather than fix the broken ones. The toilet at least got a film. Perhaps that is what EVs need, a hero, a catchy title, a dramatic scene, of someone plugging in their car as their music swells. Charging station, ek electric tata. It will do very well at the box office. I walked home after recharge direction and was glad for once that I drive a petrol car that has nothing of the internet. So the author is clearly frustrated about the EV infrastructure that India is maintaining. A lot of the charging stations don't work, and it's a problem that needs to be solved. If you have any idea about any startups or any business idea that can spring out of it, feel free to comment down. We have a WhatsApp group where you can discuss and find a like-minded community. So if you want that, check the description. Let's go to the next article. Gen Z in revolt. From Kathmandu to Peru, a generation priced out, locked out, and put out is rising up across the globe. Since the autumn of 2025, a wave of youth led uprisings has spread across South Asia and beyond. The protests have had different triggers, but they are unified by a striking consistency of grievance, political corruption, economic exclusion, and police repression. They are driven by a sense of prevalent among Gen Z that today's young people lack a political voice and have been saddled with exceptional economic hardship. Initiated and coordinated by digitally connected youth, these movements also share a common visual language. The One Piece pirate flag, which first emerged in Ichiro Oda's manga series in the late 1990s. And in the same way, the pirates in the series raised the flag as a symbol of freedom against their corrupt government. Protesters state that the flag is a symbol of liberation against oppression, a message that has resonated across borders. A 23-year-old Yugero Vincent Liberato, a protester in Manila, put it, even though we have different languages and cultures, we speak the same language of oppression, and that we should always fight for the future we deserve. The current wave of youth led rebellion began in Indonesia in late August 2025. It was prompted by the news that Indonesian MPs were set to receive a monthly housing allowance of around $3,000, which is roughly 10 times the minimum wage in Jakarta and many more than the minimum wage in poorer regions outside the capital. Many of these MPs were already earning well over $5,500 a month, placing them in a different financial universe to most Indonesians. The news of the MP's housing allowance came against the background of the growing scandal of the government's flagship free school meals program, launched in 2023 to tackle Indonesia's severe child malnutrition crisis. The program had, by 2025, been plunged into chaos. Contaminated meals had led to poisoning of more than 9,000 children, with at least one child reported to have died. For many Indonesians, the contrast was impossible to ignore. A political class enriching themselves with while a program that meant to feed children had left thousands seriously ill. This is a picture of a protester holding the One Piece, the animated series flag, to protest against the government. I truly feel the pain and the agitation that these protesters had felt against their oppression government. And this is not something different from any country. Every country has people and government because the nature of people, they never change. Whenever they're in power, they seek to enrich themselves rather than to serve the people who have made them what they are. What started as peaceful demonstrations led by the Indonesian Student Executive Board soon snowballed into a full blown nationwide uprising against a self serving political elite. Protests soon spread to 32 out of Indonesia's 38 provinces. Rioters stormed parliament complexes, torched government buildings and police stations. Amid looting and arson, the violence left around 10 people dead, nearly 500 injured, led to arrest of thousands of protesters. It got blown up really fast, following nationwide workers' protesters across all 38 provinces on 1st May this year. Tensions showed little sign of easing. Shortly after the Indonesian unrest began, Nepal's youth-led uprising erupted on 4th September last year. Referring to the media as the Gen Z demonstrations, their initial trigger was the government's decision to block access to social media platforms as part of a campaign to crack down on misuse. Dominated by students in their 20s and teens, the protests quickly escalated. Protesters stormed and set fire to government buildings in Kathmandu, including parts of the Prime Minister's office complex. While police headquarters and ministry offices were attacked and coordinated unrest across the capital, in total, 76 people were killed and more than 2,500 injured. Within days of the uprising beginning, Prime Minister Khadga Prasad Oli had been toppled. The government's attempt to regulate online expression may have been the trigger for the protests. But the core grievances in Nepal were like those in Indonesia, allied corruption and youth poverty. As 22-year-old protester Ranjana Kami explained to one media outlet, politicians are unchanged, unaccountable, and corrupt. Indeed, Nepal has cycled through 32 governments in 1990 and ranks 109 out of 182 countries on Transparency International's Corruption Index. Youth unemployment is at 21%, the highest in South and Southeast Asia. Around 1,500 people leave the country every day in search of work abroad. I hope the future will be free from corruption. I want the youth who have gone abroad to return, said 19-year-old Srijana Bhujel, a garment factory worker and protesters. The wave of this protest soon spread beyond Indonesia and Nepal into Philippines. On 21 September last year, thousands of young demonstrators flooded Manila and other cities in anti-corruption protests over a multi-billion-dollar flood control scandal, with officials and politicians accused of pocketing funds designated for flood defenses. These were youth-led rallies organized through TikTok, Facebook, and Telegram network. As in Indonesia and Nepal, the One Piece pirate flag was prominent at Luneta Park in Manila. What's interesting is the stories that someone thought was just entertaining is uniting people across borders, uniting them against these oppressive governments. Oppressive governments are not new. There were oppressive kingdoms, oppressive leaders throughout history, but today we have the technology and the social fabric. People are able to connect through social media, share the injustice and corruption that one person is facing with the entire world. And that is what has enabled for millions of people to stand united against this mighty, powerful governments or people. And I wanted to these two important pillars of democracy that we see today. One is social media, which is not regulated, and another is stories, which are impactful content, and that leads you in the right way, not the content that leads you to waste our time, rather content that leads you to better ideas, leads you to education. And that is the ambition, that is the tool everyone should have. This series that we are doing is also to make sure that content as a tool is used for the right intentions, like education or sharing of ideas, philosophy, or making these, beautiful articles reach people, even if it's two or three people. Let's continue the article. Across Europe, young people are experiencing economic and political marginalization. They are finding it increasingly difficult to enter the labor market. As of 2026, Eurostat recorded 2.9 million unemployed under 25s in the European Union, which puts the youth unemployment rate at over 15%. At the same time, as work is becoming harder to come by, the cost of living is becoming prohibitive. The European Parliament's youth survey found that 40% of Europeans aged 16 to 30 cite rising prices as their biggest concern, with 30% stating governments need to focus more on providing economic opportunities. In Britain, between December 2025 and February 2026, 7,13,000 young people aged 16 to 24 were unemployed, 70,000 more than the previous year. The unemployment rate for young people was at 15.8%, up from 14.6% the year before. Add in the exorbitant housing prices, the record levels of student debt, and you have conditions in which generational grievance and anger can easily flourish. This is aggravated by a rapidly declining sense of trust in the political system, a sense that is incapable of responding to young people's demand. Keir Starmer is historically the most unpopular prime minister in history. He's just the tip of the iceberg. The consequences of successive conservative government failures to live up to the manifesto promises on everything from Brexit to immigration, the constant scandals involving both Tory and Labour administrations have cemented the perception of the political establishment as incompetent and duplicitous. Transparency International says UK has fallen to its lowest over corruption perception score. The young breed's anger is certainly transforming their political outlook. As polling from Find Out Now shows, young people's loathing of the political establishment is prompting a shift in their voting intentions. Many are now moving away from traditional party politics towards a more radical solution. 41% of under 30s intend to vote for the Green Party, with Reform UK and Restore Britain both at around 10% each. Channel 4 research from last year found 47% of Gen Z agreed with the statement: the entire way our society is organized must be radically changed through revolution. So people are losing their faith in the political system itself. They're looking for better ways to organize society, to run governments and countries. This is the need of the hour. We have better technology, we have a better societal structure than entire history has seen. So all the principles must be rethought. This is a thought-provoking article. This leaves thought for many of the problems that still exist in society. Just that the AI, the social media, the content is not going to magically solve all these problems. It still requires human effort, creativity, and organization working together to solve all these problems. Now let's move on to the last article, the most interesting one. It's about travel. The article is from BBC, How Padma Lakshmi Eats, Packs and Survives Life on the Road. Travel is a constant throughout the renowned culinary host's career, and she has it down to a science. Here is how she packs and relaxes and what she avoids doing on a plane. She's a cookbook author. She has spent 19 seasons as the host of the Top Chef and explored American cuisines. It was a welcome respite even for a career traveler. The last 5 out of 7 years, I have been on the road for 8 months of the year. It's 2 months. She said, for me, a holiday is actually just staying put. Still, constant travel has become a defining part of Lakshmi's life and career, from managing jet lag to packing strategically and finding the best meals in unfamiliar cities. She has developed routines to survive life on the road. She travels for her job. Here, she shares the habits that help her stay grounded while on the move. You have traveled just about everywhere for your careers. What still excites you about travel? Meeting new people, tasting new foods, experiencing new cultures. These are the same thing that excite me. These are things I feel important to broaden my point of view. It keeps me present in the world, and that will always excite me about travel. What do you do while traveling to feel more at home? I pack a little bit of incense for aroma that perfumes the suitcase and keeps the things in it from getting stale. It gives me something to burn in the hotel room so I can do some meditation or prayer in the morning. That's the first thing I do in a hotel. I can have familiar smells. I'm a very sensorial, so having that familiar smell makes me feel more at home, but it often just freshens the air wherever I am. Very good tip and trick if someone is taking notes. What are your travel must haves? I try to pack in a way that helps rather than hinders me. If I'm carrying a regular suitcase, then I always put a couple of sedans on the bottom, so I can throw those on a couch, on a chair, on a bed, so that I don't have direct contact with the upholstery, or I just throw it over a lamp so that it's a little bit more moody. I think it's kind of a shawl that she's talking about, that she can put on a couch before sitting and put on a lamp to make it more moody. It's a lighting hack. Other thing I do when I'm packing is I keep a pack of vitamin C's because it's easy to get run down. I carried ORS when I was in travel. I pack a mask, a shawl, some cozy socks, headphones, download a lot of books to listen to an audible. That way, whether I have a Wi-Fi or not, I have some way to entertain myself. I pick 2 or 3 colors so that all my clothes will mix and match. That's also a good hack. The reality of Globetrot is that you can get tired very quickly. You are always chasing a different time zone. It takes a toll on my skin because you need a lot of hydration, especially in winter. I'm never sleeping in a room that doesn't have a humidifier. But when I travel, it's not always possible. I try not to wear makeup on plane right before I get on. I have a hand cream in my bag so I can reapply every time I wash my hands. I never consume alcohol on a plane because it gives you a headache. It can dehydrate you. I try to drink at least 16 ounces of water every 45 minutes that I'm on a plane. So there's a lot of things to do for a girl. And in boys, we don't have to do much. We don't need all these moisturizers. Our skin is already dry, but we do need a lot of hydration. I drink less water when I'm on a plane because I don't want to go to the washrooms. But when I'm in hotel, I make sure my hydration is proper. And there are many comforts that you have at home that you have to sacrifice when you are at travel, and that's a cost. What do you do to battle jet lag? Okay. As soon as I get to the plane, I tell my flight attendant to feed me right away. I want everything served all at once. As soon as I finish, I'll put on a face mask, a shawl on my head. They must think I'm strange, so he puts another and then he just goes to sleep. I try not to watch films because once I get hooked, I can watch films the whole time. If she doesn't rest, then the eyes are bloodshot. It happens with me as well. I connect so much with her because I am been studying at Estonia fast. Are you able to explore new cities off camera? I try to hit whatever the local food market is. I try to eat some street food, walk around aimlessly without a plan. I often ask the cab drivers where I want to eat because they'll tell you all the good places that locals go to, and not just the five-star hotels. Yes, that's something I do as well. What is the best food experience you've ever had? I'm fortunate to have so many good food experiences. It's hard to choose one that comes to my mind is going to a local food market in Bhutan. It's something I have been trying to go to for a very long time. While I was there for a literary festival, there were so many different mushrooms, dried chilies, and Sichuan peppercorns. I took as many ingredients. That's it for today. I want to record more, but my camera is dying. So see you next time.